friend or bot. Really know your adversary. And so here at Group IB, we really focus on everything about the adversary to your business, whether that be individuals that are conducting fraud, whether that be individuals that are trying to gain access to your corporate network and maybe attack SWIFT systems or payment card processing systems, etc. But today we'll focus on specifically how bots can be used in order to conduct different types of attacks. And of course, how you identify if it's your friend, your customer, or a bot activity on your network. If you'd like to communicate with me, you can do so on Twitter. My handle is Hunting Threats. I'll sell that to you if you want. And feel free to reach out and ask any questions that you might have after that. Richard did a wonderful introduction, so we're going to skip right over that and get right into the meat of the presentation today. So really, when you own a web portal or mobile application, a majority of the traffic can be bot activity. And bots can be, of course, used for good activity or used for bad activity. A bot is obviously a series of scripts for conducting automated behavior. Typically, cybercriminals will use various forms of automated behavior and even legitimate tools that app developers will use to test what they have developed in order to conduct fraud. And different types of bot activities can go into different types of threats for the organization. I think lots of the other speakers today talked about brute force attacks and credential stuffing, but they can also be used for web scraping and web scraping for maybe third-party pricing sites. But we've seen types of attacks where different organizations control the price based on how many people visit the website or how many people are interested in a certain product. And of course, adversaries can use this type of manipulated traffic to actually flex the price up and down and profit from their types of activities. Bots can also be used for automated types of registration to new accounts. Maybe you offer some sort of credit. Maybe you offer some sort of loyalty programs for new account signups, for example. And of course, if you do that type of activity, typically fraudsters are going to use automated behavior or bot activity in order to conduct this type of fraud. First and foremost, when thinking about web scraping, it can be any type of website. You think about Booking.com, about Amazon, about Monster. It really can be any type of site. And you can think about all the different types of malicious attacks that can take place just from web scraping. It could be your competitors collecting information about pricing from your website if you're constantly updating the prices so they can undercut you in the market. Again, it could be examples where certain products are sold based on traffic to your website or interest in a certain product. And fraudsters could then manipulate these types of attacks using bot activity. Credential stuffing is another really major one. And typically fraudsters will use credentials that they find on underground forums, from phishing attacks. They can be from many, many different places where credentials first get compromised. And it all starts with the creds, is what the title says here. And that's the first part in a credential stuffing attack. I saw on a previous slide, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he mentioned even a 12-year-old can launch a credential stuffing attack. And this is quite true, actually, because credentials are readily available in underground forums from previous breaches. Different automated credential stuffing tools can be purchased on underground forums for, between $7 and $15. And you don't really have to have that much technical knowledge. And so it really all starts with the credentials. And really, credentials can happen from also identity theft, but having access to these credentials, even with two-factor authentication. I'm interested to research more about passwordless 2FA activities. But certainly, even with things like 2FA, most of the major types of client-facing malware, so the malware that will infect your client's device or mobile application, these already have pre-built tools to intercept two-factor authentication message. So long since have actually 2FA been able to be defeated by different types of malware attacks. And of course, these types of credential stuffing can result in, negative impact to your brand, but of course, a lot of financial losses. So how do you actually detect that? And I put together actually a video of how you can, by understanding who is your real customer versus who may have automated activity, can be very, very useful in order to detect this type of bot activity. And there's actually voiceover for this video, so I'll be quiet and let you watch it.
The graph tool, one of the most powerful features of Group IB's fraud hunting platform, is the ability to see historical investigations of user activity. Here you can see a pretty typical case with one user logging into a specific account with an individual fingerprint. But what happens if we change this picture and look at his activity over time? You can see that this picture changes greatly, with many different computer-like icons connected to the original device fingerprint. This is where the fraudster is trying to hide his identity to brute force his way in to many different accounts located on the external perimeter of this graph. But fraudsters are lazy. They're not going to do this in a manual fashion. So it's likely that the fraudster used automated behavior to brute force or log in to these particular accounts. So perhaps we can use the investigations tool to dive a bit deeper into some of his behavior. Here on your screen, you can see details about specific devices that the fraudster used in order to log into these accounts. You can see that Selenium, a scripting tool, was used to conduct automated activity on specific user accounts, logging in, signing on, and using virtual machines to hide his.
And so that's really a video that shows you how you can actually detect this type of activity on your web portal in real time. As you heard, all of these little computers represent times where the fraudster was trying to hide his identity, and these little people on the exterior actually represent different accounts that he's automatically brute forced his way in. And if you can detect things like, for example, Selenium, so Selenium is a legitimate tool that's used by app developers to test if their app has been developed properly. So you can go into this tool, you can click, I want to log into this site, and you basically record all of your activities so that you can play them back in an automated fashion, for example, using credentials that you found from Underground Forms. So if you're managing a web portal or mobile application, I would challenge you to ask yourself, can you detect different usage of Selenium or Phantom.js? Can you detect if this individual is connected to another individual that has logged into a different account? I would start to get you thinking about different ways to fingerprint your users and information that you can collect in order to detect these types of activities. So this has been different types of credential stuffing attacks have, I would say, caused havoc on many different organizations worldwide. North Face was one of those organizations that suffered great brand reputational risk and also financial losses from abuse of their VIP loyalty program. And they all start from leaked credentials that made its way to Underground Forms. Maybe a 12-year-old, as our previous presenter said, got a hold of these credentials, decided to conduct credential stuffing attacks, and really took advantage of those VIP loyalty programs. So really think about how you can detect that type of automation used against both your API tools as well as your mobile app and your web application as well. So I've already mentioned that two-factor authentication is not enough. On lots of different websites you see trying to detect bot activity using CAPTCHA. I don't know for me, but it is the most annoying thing in the world. And it is unfortunately not very successful at detecting real users versus bot activity. And I wanted to show you really how easy it is for sophisticated bot activity to actually defeat CAPTCHA. So I made another video for you, and I'd like to share it with you today about how exactly a fraudster and how easy it is for a fraudster actually to defeat different security mechanisms like CAPTCHA that is designed to detect bots with a shell bot activity.
CAPTCHA, everyone's favorite process of logging into a website. Trying to identify a boat or a car, it really reduces the customer experience. But is CAPTCHA a silver bullet when it comes to preventing bot activity on the page? The answer is no. So let's try to defeat CAPTCHA in real time using different third-party services for recognizing things like bicycles. So now what we'll do is actually log in to our demo page, which is currently being protected by a global provider of anti-botting solutions. So what we'll do now is see on the left-hand side, the terminal is open and we're using a specific CAPTCHA solver Python script in order to automatically identify all of the annoying bicycles that you have to in order to enter the page. Here you can see the CAPTCHA unfortunately isn't ready yet. We never said that scripts were very smart. Now the bicycles are being selected. And it's interesting to note, actually, the balance. 98 rubles is about €1. And to try and solve that CAPTCHA, you can see it's a fraction of a cent. So very, very cheap in order to log into this page and beat CAPTCHA in an automated fashion. The CAPTCHA still isn't solved yet, but it will be very shortly. Finally, all of the bicycles have been selected, and we've been able to bypass the anti-botting solution provided by the global.
And I want to stop the video there just to show you how easy that was. And I mean, this is a tool that we, identified on underground forums. It cost a fraction of a cent to defeat CAPTCHA. I want to remind you that a lot of different client-facing malware, both PC and mobile malware, all have different capabilities built in to intercept two-factor authentication messages. So the real key at detecting this type of activity using automated behavior against your portal is being able to detect real users versus fake users or automated activity. And so think about, can you detect Selenium? Can you detect Phantom.js usage? Could you detect remote access Trojans on a customer's device as they log in? All of the different malicious actions that could happen as a result of bot activity, you should start asking yourself, can I detect that on the client-side device? So you can prevent these problems from happening in real time. And we've actually seen it where fraudsters will find it too difficult if you're able to detect this type of activity and actually move on to a neighboring platform, which doesn't have as good of protection. So we talked a lot about brute force attacks, price scraping, different activities that can be used with bots. But there's also other types of activities that can be used from automated attacks from fraudsters. This could be different types of auto registration or form abuse. If you have some sort of a form that can be automatically filled out, or maybe a new account sign up promotion for different e-commerce organizations. All of these different capabilities within bot activity can automatically log into different page. They can register information that's been pre-recorded in the automated script that fraudsters use. There's other things here in different categories. So gambling fraud, obviously, if you're in the gambling industry, this is another one that gets hit very heavily from a botting perspective as well. And there's also password checkers or other different tools that can be readily available, as I mentioned, on underground forums. And account farming can be another really interesting one where attackers will simply log in and compromise different credentials from brute force attacks, and then further sell this information on underground forums. So there could be many different motivations for the fraudsters to gain access to these different accounts that you offer. Again, thank you very much for having me. Wonderful presentations from everyone else. If you'd like to contact me or someone at Group IB, you can do so on the contact details on your screen now. And I look forward to the remaining presenter and of course the panel discussion. Thank you, everyone.